Greetings, greetings, sending all some warm, positive vibrations. This is Body-Culinary, and I just wanted to check in really quick before I go off to check out a carpenter to get some more wood for my garden and take care of some work today. So I hope your day is off to a great start, that you're all nice and smelling nice and got your place smelling nice and you're all shea butter, coconut oil up. Self-care, that you're hydrated. Speaking of which, give me some water. So thinking in this early day, about some of the questions that people ask me. And there are some young women that have reached out to me with some questions. And I appreciate it. I remember what it's like to be 19 and 20 and 21. And even if you have your parents in your life, sometimes our parents are busy with the responsibilities of parenting. And it is no easy task to parent children, one or numerous children, or young adults. You know, it's not easy at all. And so some of us have our parents, and many of us don't have our parents or aunties accessible to us. And many of us may not have mature adults or adults that are mature, not meaning to put anyone down, but in the sense of folks that can give us sound guidance or guidance that goes beyond even their personal experience, right? Everyone doesn't know it all. So, in that sense, it is natural to seek the life experience of others. That being said, it's also a time when many people can be manipulated, right? Some folks sometimes as adults can know that you're younger or have a lack of experience. And so you can be manipulated by males or folks with an agenda, narcissists now that we're more in common knowledge of. It's easy to be manipulated or even to be misled. So I totally get what that's about. So feel very passionate about parenting. And I want to encourage folks and young adults and young women, even in their 20s and 30s, to parent very, very intentionally. Because it is no joke to be a steward, right? To be a steward of another human being. They are babies for a very, very teeny tiny amount of time. And so we can have a lot of fantasies about what that's like. Greetings. Hey, I was wondering, with all the knowledge you have about health and life lessons, why aren't you attracting more audience? Well, there's a million people. This is an age of a lot of distractions. So I'm not really concerned about a whole bunch of numbers. I really think what is for you is for you. I don't put myself as anybody. I'm not a leader. I'm not a guru. I don't have anything for people to join. I'm a human being. So when I look around I think maybe in our quiet moments, maybe we can answer that. There's so many things that are competing. I say all the time, there are a million things with billion-dollar campaigns behind them competing for our attention and our culture. When we read and we get certificates and we get degrees, I think many of us don't admit that our brains are highly malleable and that we're all extremely easily influenced as human beings. And a lot of us are addicted, and it's nurtured. We're addicted to distraction, and not to demonize it, but we're addicted to distraction as a coping mechanism to make us feel better. So with all of the shows and the entertainment, we use the entertainment to soothe us. So I don't look to demonize it. From a young age, I've always sought to understand. Right, I'm fascinated by human behavior and what drives us, what drives us to get into action and be motivated into action. And also, I'm really fascinated by what drives self-sabotaging behaviors, like socially acceptable, literally suicidal behaviors. So I'm humbled by the awareness that we are easily programmed to all kinds of stuff to basically off ourselves as human beings. So I'm just me. I used to even say raising my son. I'm mom, but these other fast food companies, folks trying to market things to you, folks trying to sell you drugs and things as coping mechanisms and as escapes. They have $1 million campaign, and I'm mom, so I have the love of a mother. I have the insight and compassion of a human being. When I look at a lot of my peers and a lot of the adults and even generations above me, as I sat around and watched, like, wow, like, the alcoholism, the drugs, not to say that, that's the only aspect of people, but I'm always fascinated by how we can sabotage ourselves. So, just in my own observation, I've uh, come to accept and observe that a lot of us are traumatized, and a big way to deal with trauma and to cope is distraction. So I think that marketers understand that. So we're always being marketed toxic treats, right? And things that will kill our liver and our spleen and age us, and, as a way to soothe us, and even different types of rhetoric and even types of religions are used to, not that there aren't elements of truth and universal truths in all of them, but a lot of those things are manipulated to get us to do things and purchase things, and also to be complacent with our lot in life, what a life we've been handed, or to really manipulate us in this way or that way. Black and we are sick, emotionally, spirit. Yes, we are, but other human beings are too. There are levels. There's so many different variations of it. But if you sit around, many of us can think that other people have it better or aren't experiencing the same thing. The work that I've done for many years has afforded me the ability to travel and to work with all types of demographic of people. And I have always been fascinated. I have been very humbled by people that are totally different, consume totally different, have totally different religions. I've learned something. I've learned certain gifts that they have. And I've also seen that even folks very wealthy, no family, lots of family, parents, no parents, all have the same human condition, and there are levels of it. So, so many people are sick. And then it's interesting, there are many people that may not have access to certain resources that still have certain aspects of family intact, So I strive to take the best and to leave the rest, to see what I can do, because it can also be a trap to, and I get it too, with so wanting to unpack and understand our position. We can get so fixated on the problem, and let's say, like, we're studying history and we want to know why, but then I don't find that that's balanced out as much with the getting into action. We can be paralyzed by information overload. It can weigh us down when we're not getting into action. You could spend your whole life reading history and quotes and praying and never get into action. So anyway, I just think there's a lot of distraction, and I'm not for everybody, and there's someone and something for everybody. So we're all on a journey and on a path. So I'm in acceptance. So today, so I don't go on too long, there were several things that I wanted to share. So perhaps they can be of value. Anything that I say is not the truth. It's just one woman's perspective. Got lime, and see, I put food on my face. It's just one woman's perspective. So I'm just sharing. It could be perhaps of value to somebody in their 20s, 30s, maybe even somebody perhaps older, right? Because a lot of times I got food all over my face, child. So there were several things that I thought that maybe perhaps could be helpful from my own personal experience. It's not something that I've read, because I don't think it necessarily has to take us 20, 30 years to make certain types of changes when it comes to changing or upgrading our consumption patterns of what we eat, and improving our communication skills, right? Clarity, I would say, is worth its weight in gold. And sometimes many of us don't get clear until we've done lots of damage, to ourselves. And then sometimes folks don't want to share. More mature adults may be embarrassed to share that information with another generation. So anyway, these are some things I thought might be valuable shortcuts that perhaps can give us a shortcut. Now, that being said, I don't think there's any way to bypass process, right? There's a balance. There is duality, right? There is duality. So just because we have information, this is an information age. And quite often I hear this term, the knowledge, the knowledge, the knowledge. Since some of this stuff is basic, it is very tempting to shortcut process because we have so much information available to us. So it kind of makes me think of like, as someone that's worked in holistic health centers, folks will think I can do a quick water fast or I can do a colonic, and that's going to change everything. And that doesn't necessarily change your mindset. So it can kind of wind up in a binge purge cycle, or we can be putting spirulina and green juices on top of things temporarily, and they seem to fizzle out, right? We spend money on all these supplements and trainers, and somehow we always seem to level back down to the same place, and it becomes been there, done that. Oh, I did it fast. Oh, I used to have a trainer, and somehow it doesn't seem to land in us making permanent lifestyle shifts. So I find a paradigm shift. Paradigm shifts are really what have helped me. That has been certain books I've read, but definitely experiences and definitely being around certain folks. And there's nothing like experience. So here we go. These are 9 things that I think can perhaps be a so-called, I don't know if I want to say a shortcut, but maybe perhaps be a shift in perspective, right? A shift in perspective, something that we can contemplate in our quiet moments. 1, striving to take 1000% accountability, right? So there's so much being marketed to us to tempt us to escape all the myriad, the endless seasons of shows and the blood and the gore. All of them are symbolic, all affecting our brain and our psyche. But there's this temptation. There's so many things enticing us to escape with pleasure. And there should be some pleasure in life. Life is meant to enjoy, but the context is everything. So I'm very wary of things that would entice me to be an addict or have me on the whole stroll. Anything that's going to entice me to think, to really start to rationalize that I can bypass process so that I don't have to do any kind of work. So anything that would have me not take accountability, I'm wary of. Or if somebody is not taking accountability and they want to share and the activities of not taking accountability, that's not going to help me. And I found taking accountability, although it can be something that we run from, can be so freeing, can give you an immediate paradigm shift, right? You can really free yourself. For example, for any of you parents out there, or let's say women or men, when you accept responsibility that you have done whatever to become a parent, and so you have offspring, you have another human being that, whether you're in ignorance or not, you made a decision to be a steward of another human being, whether you were prepared or not. And if you were irresponsible or just ignorant, that you're fully responsible. You can free yourself of going back and forth, spending years arguing with somebody, and just make the best of your situation. That can give you a lot of relief and free up a lot of your mental, emotional space. So take 1000% accountability that if you're you don't like the shape of your body, or you've made certain decisions, that you did that. And it can free you up, even though we avoid it. There's so many things and things sold to us to have us mask it and put an illusion, to the point where most of society now, we love the fantasy. We don't want to be accountable. We don't want to see what we really look like. We don't want to accept accountability. And although it's said, it's like some mixed messages. It's a mixed message, but ultimately we live with ourselves, and having a lot of guilt around what you know subconsciously you're not doing, that can lead to us medicating, believe it or not. I call it a backdoor mentality. So what you think somebody's selling to you, that's not really what they're selling. It requires some listening to the undertone. So that's 1. Strive to take 1000% accountability, because being stuck in a victim mentality is a prison, and it's torture. Number 2, it may sound corny, but that's okay. And it's been said before, though, gratitude is really important for what you have. Everybody's trying to escape to the tropics. Everybody's trying to marry a millionaire. Everybody's trying to escape sometimes, or we're trying to look like somebody else. We want somebody else's hair. Now, I'm not going to demonize it. Some people just want to be creative and play dress up, not demonize it. However, context is everything. A lot of times we're so busy looking at what we think somebody else has, and we have no clue of what people are going through. Once I had a client, and in a high-end gym, sometimes some of my clients will look at other women in the gym and say, this person looks like that, and she's got this, and she's got that. And I remember there was this one woman that used to come in the gym all the time. She was so consistent there every day, rain, sleet, or shine. She'd be right in there. Pleasant person. And so all the coaches and the trainers took a liking to her. And I remember once one of my clients said, oh, she thinks she's this or that, or said something negative. And I was like, that's not cool. You might want to introduce yourself to her, because that woman works hard. She works hard on her body. She's usually in excruciating pain in her back. And she has a story to tell. She was chubby one time. She looks really beautiful now, but she put the work in on herself, right? Sometimes you don't know what people are going to. So, and then she did. She introduced herself to this other woman, and they had some positive energy to exchange to each other. So instead of looking at everybody else, just having gratitude. If you have a room, whatever you have, whoever you have in your life, you realize a lot of times we're so busy chasing after people that look fantastic that we chase after people sometimes that don't really want us, that demonstrate don't really care about us. We want a lot of people that don't want us. And a lot of times the people that are expressing care and appreciation, that might be a parent or older person. A lot of times we're not appreciating the people that want us and that show us real, sincere affection and care consistently, right? But we want something else that's fancier and a shinier package. So it's come to my attention that gratitude is a way to receive more. When you're really in a state of appreciation, you can draw more things to, literally, it's not mukajuk, because your mind is more open, your eyesight is more open, because you appreciate what you have. That's energetic. That puts you in a certain mood when you're appreciative. It draws other people, to you. That means you're going to appreciate, the one cheap juicer you have. And so somebody might gift you with something. I've had people gift me with all kinds of stuff out of the blue just because of how I show up appreciating what I have. Just how you show up, and an attitude of gratitude is not corny. If by contrast, we'll always just focus on what you may validly not have, it can make you angry and bitter and resentful. And so it can take you off your trajectory of working towards the vision for what you have. So gratitude. Maybe sometimes just take 1 minute to look around and say, like, wow, I'm grateful. I got a bunch of cucumbers. I have a beautiful space. I like my hair. I like my glass. I've had some great experiences. Be grateful for what you have and working with what you have. And definitely with your body, love yourself to the next level, right? So gratitude. Number 3, acceptance, right? Acceptance. This is huge because I contemplate a lot victimhood and a victim mentality. And maybe it's a parent or not a parent, that most human beings, right, at different levels, have gone through some type of trauma. And we have a tendency, like a vampire bite, to rationalize spreading that pain. Sometimes that's the state we're in, and sharing that pain or trauma with others, whether that's inventing or being mean to others. We can see it as children's popular culture now, teasing each other, bullying each other, women excluding somebody else from the group, men just being aggressive, to each other. Acceptance of the life that's been handed to you. So I have this thing. There's certain things for some reason have always been on my radar. I have a tendency to I've always from a young age looked for women that will look fantastic for their age, right? So I've mentioned this before. Essence Magazine has always had for years a spread of women that look really good for their age, maybe from 30s into going up to 100. And what were their beauty secrets? And I was always looking to see how these women were living, like vibrantly, if they're in a good mood, or whatever. And sometimes I'm amazed. I would see certain patterns. I observe patterns. And one of them is gratitude. Number 2, they're always up to something in their life, learning something new, doing something new. And when you hear some of these people who you think may have a silver spoon in their mouth, how they've worked themselves to certain positions. So acceptance, when you can accept, this is the hair I have, as an example. This is what I was born with. making the best of it. You ever see sometimes some of these folks in South Africa or Kenya or the Philippines, and they have family, have each other. They seem to have such exude such a joy and a happiness. You're like, dang, they look like they don't have no running water or this and that, and they seem so happy. I've even observed some people wealthy sometimes with an air of jealousy. Like, how are these people so happy or like confused? How could they be so fulfilled? Now, I'm not saying, I don't want to get it twisted, that we need to be complacent with accepting abuse or a lot in life, and that we should be happy with drinking dirty water, right? Or, that's not what I'm saying. But just acceptance of certain things may have happened to you, might have even been victimized. And so not to do a spiritual bypass and just pray over or deny or stuff down your feelings. Like, this, something may have happened to me, but that doesn't define who I am. That might be a chapter. I can choose to write the narrative of how I want to give that meaning, and choose to reframe the narrative and know that that's not all of who I am. What happened to me is not all of who I am, because we can spend years of victimization that can lead to substance abuse, that can lead to us eating ourselves to the point of deformity, numbing ourselves out, using intimate relations, using people like a pacifier, or using people like we use Pringles, or using people up like toilet paper, right? Because we're trying to avoid something or trying to feel something, but not on a physical level, but not really trying to deal with things emotionally. Some of us may not even know how to approach certain things emotionally. So that's where relaxation and journaling can come in. Okay, so number 4, something that can be so valuable is movement. Movement, oh my gosh, that's one of my best tools of self-care, right? Years ago, as a young person, I decided I wanted to run. I wasn't trying to run marathons. I do know it was because in the summer, one summer I had moved to a new neighborhood, my grandma's house, and they had Colgate games. I never knew about Colgate games and sprinting. And so I got to go down to the park, and they were running these relay races and stuff. And I came in last. I was like, why did I come in last? That always bothered me. Why did I come in last? So at some point, I just went to the park by myself, and I wanted to see the same lap where I came in last at. I wanted to see if I could run around by myself. And I ran. I was like, I don't know anything about sprinting, any of that, because I was just by myself, my little brothers and my big brothers as a child. But I just had a curiosity, so I just ran around it once. Another time I came back and I ran around it twice, and then I ran around the bigger loop at the park. And then I said, I wonder if I can run all the way to Roosevelt Island. And I ran there by myself. I was kind of scared. I was like, I'm going to get lost or something. And I ran to the tip of Roosevelt Island. It was actually a really nice lighthouse. That was such a paradigm shifter for me, because it was like a new experience. I got to see something new. But also it was like a victory, right? Of something. I ran there by myself and back. Those kind of things can shift your awareness, giving yourself those types of experiences. It was like a victory. It's almost like I won like a medal, but it was something I demonstrated to myself. I broke a boundary, right? I broke a paradigm of, I showed myself a possibility of what I could do on my own. And most people weren't interested in running or anything with me. Now, again, I wasn't on any team. I didn't have any coaches, but my curiosity was sparked, right? And once your curiosity is sparked, usually that frame of mind, that becomes a mentality that you take on. Just like victimhood could be a habitual mentality. And then a lot of times you may not notice possibilities on the horizon because you're so on the loop of a certain way of habitual thinking, if that makes sense. So movement, getting into movement, it makes you feel victorious. It makes you feel like an athlete. You feel like a champion, really. And so just getting into movement, it might be like 1 or 2 exercises, getting into immediate movement, even if you feel like you don't have a lot of time to work out, whatever. Sometimes I would go roll out of bed onto the floor and do some push-ups or whatever. That's how I told myself to do push-ups. I started with 5, 10, 15. Eventually I got up to 5 sets of 20 push-ups, kneeling, and then full push-ups. And if I don't continue it, I'll start to go backwards. But that was just on me exploring what I could do on my own. And then there was one time where they had like an impromptu competition at a place I work with some other coaches and trainers. And I was shocked that I was able to keep up with somebody that was very muscular, very built, extremely fit. And I was shocked. There was another time where I went to a CrossFit on the fly because one of my business coaches had told me about CrossFit. I didn't know anything about it. It was hard, but I found I was able to hang with some SEALs and some folks in the fire department because I do pop squats all the time, right? So I was shocked. So those things have been paradigm shifters for me in terms of possibilities. Like sometimes we're not even exploring the our capacity as human beings, what we are really able to do because we have limiting beliefs and they're looping over and over and over. So movement, any kind of movement. It might be, my godmother used to tell me before, I love my godparents and my grandmother, talk about them all the time. She used to say, before you hit the door, she said, if you only have time, just do one yoga pose. She said, always make time for your spiritual practices. So spiritual practice is very practical. That meant my juicing, my movement practice. She said, never leave them because they will never leave you. And that has proven to be true. Just the self-care, but the breathing, the quiet, the stretching, the flexibility, perhaps if you think about it more as a spiritual practice even, right? Because movement, it puts you in a certain frame of mind. So movement is huge. Number 5, appreciate your body parts, right? So appreciating what you were divinely assigned. Now, some folks may choose to alter that. That's totally on you. However, if we're starting from a place of appreciation, right? Because where do we get all these programs of, this is not good enough, or, it's not for me to say, it's just one woman's perspective, but appreciating what you have, like the size of your breasts, the size of your glutes, just standing in the mirror, I practice breast massage for health and stomach massage, as well as oiling myself daily. It's very soothing and calming. I remember when I was a little girl, you get out the tub and your mother will oil you down and put powder all over you. So you had powder on your neck and then put your pajamas on, So I nurture myself, and the appreciation. A lot of times we are begging and pleading and wanting people to care for us, and we're not applying that care for ourselves. So that is a mentality. It's energetic. You carry, if you're doting on yourself and you're caring for yourself all the time with actions, that becomes a mindset. So your standards get higher for what you will allow, because you'll be thinking, I'm putting all this care into myself. So why would I ruin all of that care for myself by settling for this or that? So appreciating your body parts, your eyebrows. That's why I have a practice of. Now, you can also, by the same token, be very expressive artistically if you want to wear makeup or alter your eyebrows. However, I have found that appreciating what I have brings me a sense of calm and a sense of peace, because I'm very aware that other folks are marketing things to me that, although they may seem like it's just expressive, there's an undertone, I understand, with marketing and social media that can make you feel like you're less. And also our psyche has a tendency to keep comparing ourselves to other people. So I have decided consciously to flip the script and dote on me and appreciate me. So for a second, imagine if somebody is constantly complimenting you. Let's say somebody that you really desire, and somebody that you find really attractive is constantly telling you how beautiful you are. And it's telling you like, no, don't change your eyebrows, your eyebrows. They're beautiful, they're sexy, they actually turn me on. Your lips, you may be thinking a gap in your teeth, you want to go fill it up with some veneers, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's your personality. Please don't change it. Don't change a thing. Imagine somebody complimenting you like that all the time and saying, oh my gosh, I love your scent. I love the way you move. I love the way you express. And imagine if that person also is you, right? So again, I have decided to be very self-determining and it's energetic. When you dote on yourself, literally, I'm not exaggerating, literally, male or female, or however you identify, give yourself the love, the care, and the attention. Use your imagination of what you're wanting other people to give to you. Give it to yourself. You might even feel like it might feel silly. And I invite you to listen and notice the internal dialogue of judgment that may come up if you feel like that's silly, right? But most of us would love to be doted on and cared for and massaged, like somebody to really dote on you. Are you giving that to yourself? So even if it doesn't feel authentic, which is interesting, right? I invite you to really listen to your dialogue around yourself and literally soothe yourself and care for yourself. Appreciate the health of your body parts. Most of us have access to some type of water, hot water, and some oil so that you can soothe and dote and care for yourself. So you're smelling good and, just the best possible presentation. You can vote for yourself primarily. So that was number 5. Appreciate your divinely assigned body parts and keep them very healthy, right? To the best of your ability. And that hygiene over here, at least over in my world, does include what you're eating is a big part of hygiene. Number 6 is relaxation. So relaxation, I'm big on relaxation, and it can be very, very simple. I have quite a few relaxation videos on this channel, and it doesn't require a guru, doesn't require religion, doesn't require a big production, but just slowing down to breathe. Sometimes I'll even put my hand on my chest to remind me that I'm in this, I have my essence inside this body temple. Slow down to literally to inhale and exhale, to listen to your breath, to bring your awareness to you on this side of the dirt, right? Just breathing and relaxing. It doesn't even have to take 30 seconds or 2 or 3 minutes, right? Can really shift your paradigm, right? I think often of in Islam when you're making salat 5 times a day. Well, how about just relaxing? 1, 2 times, 3 times, or whenever you feel the need to relax. Is really, really important, particularly in the times that we're in. All the things that are coming to us by these screens are making us really, really anxious. And when you're anxious like that, it creates a nervous condition usually where you want to medicate, right? And it's primal. It's not logical, right? So it's a lot of what we're doing has nothing to do with logic, and I have a deep respect for that, right? I'm humbled by that. So relaxation. 7 is a circle of support. Again, this is something I've been doing for years. You may not have somebody around you, like a family member. You might feel like you don't have any friends or a peer or a mentor. This is what I've heard from a lot of young people, and that may occur at different points in our life. So fortunately, you can use social media, or you can get creative about creating a circle of support for yourself. So I would, before the internet, I used cassette tapes. The first time I found out what a mentor was, I remember my first job in corporate America, and I remember there was a Black woman, a chocolate woman, that was a vice president, and I was reading Essence magazine. I was reading about mentors. I didn't know what a mentor was, and so I wrote a letter to her and I requested a meeting. I said, "Would you be my mentor?" I'm the person that will go sit up in the front of the class, raise my hand, or I'm going to ask the question. I'm like, what I got to lose? And she had a meeting with me. Oh, I remember her name too. So, it could be a mentor. You could ask, maybe respectfully, for a few minutes of the time. I highly advise that you don't come empty-handed, asking for somebody to give you their time and their skills. I've volunteered, and I got this again from my godparents. I've always been willing to sweep a floor or to do some paperwork or something, kind of like an apprenticeship, to volunteer my time, because I really value, and I'm very clear that a lot of times, and I knew that I got a lot more than what people were paying for just through me volunteering and sincerely wanting to, I had an area of interest in herbs and holistic healing. So I would volunteer quite often, because just to be in this space, in the environment, I got exposed to so many books and so many healers and I got exposed to some really dynamic people, even promotions in different fields of work through me volunteering. So creating a circle of support, mentors, it could be these videos, being very particular and picky and intentional. That's the word, intentional about your time, right? Even as I'm moving around the house for years, I've always been studying, or I would say have friends, even if they were my fitness buddies on a tape. For years, that has been my practice, to create a circle of support for myself. Support works. And if you have positive, proactive support, value that. I would even encourage my son sometimes. I was like, you may want to get some friends from another culture to learn another language. Somebody may be looking to learn English, and they may want to learn from you, may learn something from their family values. So that can look different ways, but creating a circle of positive support. If you have friends around you that are interested, I remember when I was in culinary school, there was a young man, very dynamic, Asian young man, and he was also going to NYU. He said, I could go to other schools. He said, but I'm going to go to NYU because I want to be around smart people and people smarter than me, right? I've gotten so many gems from so many human beings, so that was a good nugget in my cap. So your circle of support, create a circle of support for yourself. Number eight is to affirm. Some people would say pray, but I would say more so affirm. More than, because I have this thing, I'm not necessarily want to beg and plead, because that's how a lot of prayer occurred to me growing up in a Pentecostal family. But affirming, saying affirmations over your water, right? So most of your body is water, right? It's flowing, it's energetic. There's a great documentary and a book called Messages Beyond Water. You may be able to find it on audiobook. But to breathe, slow down, and to affirm, right? These are rituals that you can call them rituals or practices, but basically what you're doing is you're programming yourself. So it is known, all marketers, politicians, religious leaders know that human beings are easily programmed, right? And a lot of times we're programmed based on avoidance of pain or avoidance of fear, right? And there's six basic human fears. Look it up. But the practice using sounds, tones, words, intentional words, right? Because we think in pictures and feelings. When you're affirming something over your water, just like with the breathing, you're taking the time to be intentional about the programs and messages that you're putting into your own subconscious. So with taking a glass of water, it could be, I'm getting better and better all the time, or I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. It's different than saying I got $1 million in the bank, but you don't really believe it. That can actually have a reverse effect. But affirming, saying some kind of affirmation, right? So not begging and pleading, but saying an affirmation, because I have warm water right now, and drinking some water. Simple, wonderful practice, and it's accessible and it's free. Okay. And Number nine is to get quiet. Again, we come back to the relaxation. So number 9 is not only to get quiet, but here's, I don't know if I want to call this one an affirmation. Could be an affirmation, but there's so many things that come to you in quiet. So something I was thinking of, and you could try this on for size, you can alter it if you like, is, and again, shout out to all my young adults, is that there are a lot of mistakes, if you say that I don't need to make to go along, to get along, right? And then you can get quiet and you can listen just with that, right? Because you're stimulating your own thought process. And deeper than that, we all have a divinely assigned, each one of us, divine, innate, on board, common sense, right? That we are born with. It's a communication system. It's very quiet. It's not necessarily speaking English, Spanish, whatever. It's just thought. It's raw communication. It doesn't need a middleman. And we're not necessarily really cognizant to it. There are different parts of our psyche giving us direction. There's also the fearful part of our psyche that can play out in our ego that actually has a purpose of defending us, but it's not logical. And that can often have us drive us to make decisions to medicate to avoid pain and fear, or to avoid something, right? Its whole thing is protection. And a lot of times that will show up in avoiding and not dealing. So that it can actually sabotage us, right? Because it's not logical. However, there's a part of us that is, it's quiet, and it's actually a very sound guidance system, right? It can guide us to what to eat, or it can give us like a feeling of this doesn't feel like the right thing to do, or the right thing to, there's a common sense. It's on board. It's innate. It's something that you were born with. It has nothing to do with me or any other human being, right? And we haven't been taught to cultivate a listening or a relationship with it, because that would take away a lot of people's jobs. So I invite you to try that on for size. Is there are a lot of mistakes that I don't need to make, or you can say I don't need to make anymore, right? There's certain things I don't need to, I don't really need, for example, I don't need the alcohol anymore, or I don't need, the substance abuse anymore. I don't need to eat myself to death anymore. I can really feel, I can know that I'm safe, right? You can really work with yourself. So that being said, oh wow, this is going quite longer than I intended. I invite you to create a safe space for yourself, because quite often you might not have somebody around you that you feel that you can trust. You may feel like at a loss, but we can learn. We can learn to hold space for ourselves, right? And again, like if we go back to number 7, you can be creative in creating a circle of practical support. I'm not saying for you to go out there and get into any of these cults or another religion, but you can work and learn to cultivate a trust for yourself. And every time you take a little action, actually with your glass of water or doing like a 5 minute practice, that will actually help you to build up your confidence and trust in yourself. Before you're so beautiful and calm. Thank you. Shout out Zipporah and Chrissy. I'm learning to write thankful notes. It's life changing. Something so simple as gratitude. Yes, and KG and the truth. And so, little caveat: all of this being said, let me make it very clear. I am a human being. You come near my family, I got something for you. I eat fruits and vegetables. I like living food, but don't get it twisted. There are dualities in life. I'm not saying that we should take abuse, that it is spiritual to take abuse, but somehow it can be better to walk away. And there's times when we need to stand on our square. So I am a balanced human being. I'm not going to tell you to stuff your feelings. However, to find ways to emote them, and to how can we use those feelings, let's say for anger, for example, anger, if it's coming up, to go beyond just being reactionary, and maybe perhaps consider that it's these communications, even let's say if you're craving junk food, right? That they have a deeper something. They're trying to communicate something to you. So to listen, especially if we know that acting out in a certain kind of way will sabotage our health, or our well-being. If we can suspend and say, like, what is the deep, we can actually communicate to our own selves, right? Either quietly, or it can be perhaps very practical, again, while you're cleaning. I love it when you're cleaning or decluttering, and work with yourself so you can trust yourself. Everybody doesn't have to be the expert. You don't have to be a PhD or a doctor. You can actually work with yourself and develop a trust in yourself. That gives you a lot of integrity. You can cultivate little bit by little bit, a lot of trust within yourself. The more you trust yourself, the less likely you're to put yourself in harm's way with food, with people. It's different, and I don't find a lot of these conversations being had. So hopefully this is helpful to somebody. You're welcome to replay this, perhaps. Maybe in the afternoon before you eat. So see, that's something I would do to give myself support, right? To help me get grounded, right? Because again, there's so many things competing that are hypnotic to pull your attention away, so that you're moving like mindlessly, right? We like to assume, again, we got several degrees, but take a look around. It's humbling. Even myself, it's easy to move mindlessly. So it really takes something to stay intentional and to stay grounded. So I really feel a lot for our young people. And even folks in their 40s and their 50s, people assume as you mature, because you're 21 or you're of a certain age, that you just have everything all figured out. And that's not true. That's not true. And we do ourselves a disservice. And a lot of times we are falling behind individuals because they have a suit on, or a clergy thing, or they've got a turban on. You assume they have all these answers. And by now, in this time, in 2021, at least by the current Greco-Roman calendar, it is very evident that we are following people that are flawed human beings with their vices, deviancies and stuff. And if we're going to continue to put our life in our hands, and that, what was one of the first things? Number one was strive to take 1000% accountability. right? For yourself, for how you spend your time, for what you're consuming. It can actually be very freeing. It's also very confronting when you don't have to do anything. But when you decide to take accountability for your life, believe it or not, it can be very freeing. It's confronting, might be scary, but it can be also very, very freeing. Some of us don't want to sit with the fact that, in a sense, it might seem very alone in a sense, because how many people around you do you see taking 1000% accountability for their lives? But they do exist, and that could be you. So I'm sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. I'm not here to like I'm super spiritual. No. How could you be trying to be spiritual anyway? We're just human beings. We are spirit having a human experience. Some of the stuff people are touting out as knowledge, is basic stuff. It's just a language that we don't hear commonly. And when a lot of this information gets put out there, and folks, particularly young people, haven't heard it before, a lot of people give you knowledge and then manipulate you because they know you may be enamored because you haven't heard this language before. But some of the stuff is really practical. It's really practical. So I'm inviting you all to create a great day on purpose. Share this with someone that could benefit. Play it in the evening. Create positive support for yourself. Support works. If not me, someone else. All right. See y'all soon. Oh, check out Body-Culinary and TikTok. I think you'll like some of the little short little offerings on there. I think they'll make you smile. There's a puppet series here on this channel called Sister Butterfly and Sister Monkey Learn to Eat Better. They are hilarious, about 9 or 10 free episodes. If you want to see some of my creations like Afro, those are on the Body-Culinary Etsy shop, as well as the plant milk bags. So those are, I'm just thinking of how to organize and have some of those offerings. And I do hear folks, I'm going to get back to folks that want to take part in the cocoon. That the cocoon is a process of just turning in to really just totally clean up your eating and create a movement practice for yourself. It's focused around whole, fresh, unprocessed foods, starting a movement practice and reconnecting with nature and plants, right? Through growing something, even if you're in a city. So I have heard all of your requests. You have so much time in the day, and I've been out here for a while. So I'm going to see y'all soon. All right.